Here's what I see in my clinical practice. Women who went from UTIs every few weeks to going 6 months or even 1 year infection-free. And it's not by popping more antibiotics, it's by nourishing their ecosystem instead of destroying it. Because here's the thing, those antibiotics actually make you more prone to future infections. But there are natural remedies backed by research that work just as effectively as antibiotics. And today, I'm going to show you the exact natural protocol that helps my clients break free from that UTI antibiotic cycle. Because here's what most people don't realize. Antibiotics aren't selective, so they wipe out the pathogenic bad microbes, but they also wipe out the beneficial ones that are actually protecting you. And you can think of them like police officers. So if those microbes are low, your security is low. And the resistant ones, they survive and they multiply. And you can think of those like the criminals. And if those ratios are off, well, your downtown is going to be in chaos and you can get infections over and over again. And the research is so clear. Women with recurrent UTIs who relied on repeated antibiotics had worse gut microbiome diversity, more inflammation, and more infections over time. It's just a vicious cycle. And that's why those antibiotic exposures leave you susceptible to illness and problems down the track. Now, in saying that, if you have a full-blown UTI infection, antibiotics can absolutely be essential. So you gotta go see your doctor if that's the case. This protocol is for early stage infection and prevention. And I always need to get medical clearance before starting any new supplements to make sure it is right for you, especially if you're on medication or have medical conditions. Hi, I'm Leilani. I'm a qualified clinical nutritionist helping you transform your health starting from the inside with simple science-backed strategies combined with a bit of ancient wisdom, and I wanted to fit into modern life. Now, I release videos every week on all topics gut related, so hit subscribe and you can improve your health week by week. And believe it or not, the gut and the vaginal ecosystem are closely connected, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But as a health practitioner, I see women every single day suffering from recurring UTIs. And here's the truth, they don't have to. In today's video, you'll learn the game-changing supplement that matches antibiotic effectiveness in clinical trials, the top probiotic strains proven to cut UTI occurrence by more than half, why frequent UTIs are often a sign of gut dysbiosis, and a simple preventative protocol you can start today. And stick around because at the end, I'll show you the top hygiene habits that can also prevent UTIs causing bacteria from even reaching your bladder in the first place. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Up to 90% of UTIs are caused by E. coli bacteria. And where does E. coli live? In your gut. And that's the connection most people miss. A healthy vaginal microbiome, one that's got lactobacillus dominant species, acts like your personal security team. It keeps the pH low, crowds out the invaders, and dramatically lowers your UTI risk. But where does that healthy vaginal flora come from? Your gut microbiome is essentially the headquarters, and when the headquarters is thriving, your vaginal ecosystem thrives too, like every other ecosystem in the body. And this is exactly how I approach UTIs, and it's different in my practice from most practitioners. We don't just treat the bladder, we look at the whole ecosystem. And we use supplements temporarily to help boost those systems. So drop a comment if you've ever noticed your UTIs get worse after antibiotics. And what is your go-to natural remedy? I want to hear about your experience. Okay, now let's talk about the supplement that genuinely changed things for my clients. D-Mannose. Now, D-Mannose is found naturally in certain fruits. Here's how it works. E. coli bacteria have these finger-like projections that help them stick to your bladder wall. So D-Mannose actually binds to those projections like a decoy. So instead of attaching to your bladder, the bacteria attach to the mannose and get flushed out when you wee. And the research, a study of 308 women with recurrent UTIs found that 2 grams of D-Mannose daily was as effective as an antibiotic at preventing infections over 6 months, with far less side effects. And in my clinical experience, D-Mannose is an absolute game changer. I've had clients that have had UTIs constantly, every week, and then suddenly go months to years without a single infection. Plus, it actually helps feed up the important birth gut microbes that naturally boost energy, lower weight, and help neural pathways. Now, let's just be clear. Results do vary person to person. Not everybody responds the same way, but for many women, this supplement helps break free of that cycle. Now, know this, supplements aren't meant to be a forever thing. They're just a short-term fix to help you while you're treating the underlying cause. And then in this case, you want to maintain really good hygiene practices, and I'll get to that really soon. So D-Mannose is generally well tolerated. Some people experience some mild digestive upset at really high doses. And if you have diabetes or difficult regulating blood sugar, you got to chat with your doctor first. Now, to make it easier, I have put the full natural protocol with the dosage and my favorite brands for each supplement, plus the hygiene practices and a few extras in a cheat sheet, and I'll put the links in the description below, so go and grab it. Okay, moving on. You've probably heard to drink cranberry juice for UTIs, but here's the thing. Juice alone isn't potent enough. Plus, it's got added sugar, and it's not doing your gut any favors. So go for a potent extract instead. So cranberry contains compounds called proanthocyanins, and that prevents the bacteria from sticking, similar to D-Mannose, but through a different mechanism. So when you combine them, this is when the beautiful synergy happens, and you're hitting the bacteria from multiple angles. And also, it is recommended in the American Urological Association to include cranberry as a valid non-antibiotic option for women with recurring UTIs. And so when you stack that with D-Mannose with proper hydration, that's when you start seeing consistent results. Important safety tip, if you're on blood thinners like warfarin, skip the cranberry. There's a known interaction that can affect how your medication works. Okay, let's move on to probiotics, and this is where it gets really exciting, because this is the secret to long-term vaginal ecosystem health. And it's not just for UTI prevention, but other very common female concerns. And of course, the list is super long, as we know. So remember how I said your vaginal microbiome is like your security team? Well, a healthy vagina is dominated by lactobacillus bacteria. These good bugs produce lactic acid and hydrogen peroxide, creating an environment that is hostile to pathogens like certain E. coli strains, and that will reduce your UTI risk. But when your lactobacillus gets wiped out from, say, the antibiotics or stress or hormonal changes the ratio, it's kind of open season on infection-causing bacteria. Sucks to be a woman. A 2024 randomized controlled trial studying 174 women with frequent UTIs showed the results were striking, because 70% of women on the placebo had another UTI, but only 32% of the women using the vaginal probiotics got reinfected. So that is cutting their risk by more than half. In my clinical experience, vaginal specific probiotics work incredibly well for many of my clients. And some of the brands I personally recommend, based on what I've seen in practice, I'll put on the screen now. And I love it because their Activated Probiotics is a really strong brand, and the Biome Her has great results, along with the LGG probiotic flora, because you want to look for the strains like Lactobacillus, Rhamnosus, and Crispitaceus. These are the ones that show in clinical research. Run you through the hygiene habits that prevent the bacteria from ever really becoming a problem. So, number 1 is wee before and after sex. That flushes the bacteria that may have been pushed towards the urethra. You're always going to wipe from front to back. Never drag bacteria from your bum forward. Avoid those vaginal sprays, the douches, and the harsh soaps because they destroy your protective flora. And don't hold it in, guys. Try to urinate every 2 to 4 hours. It helps flushing the bacteria. And you've got to stay hydrated. So a clinical trial found that women who drank an extra 1.5 liters of water daily had significant fewer UTIs. And so if you feel the early twinges of UTI coming on, you can also use Ural. It's a urinary alkalizing powder that you put in water, and it helps reduce the burning sensation while you're just trying to flush out the bacteria. So these sound simple because they are, and they work, at least for most women. Now, breaking this cycle means hitting it from multiple angles. So to sum it up, we've got the D-Mannose and the Cranberry to prevent bacterial adhesion, the vaginal probiotics to restore your protective ecosystem, the proper hydration to flush out everything, and smart hygiene habits to prevent the bacterial transfer. So one supplement alone might not be enough for everyone. The key is layering these strategies together, especially at the first sign of a symptom or as a preventative if you're prone to infections. And remember, these are guidelines for early infection and prevention. If symptoms do persist or worsen, you have to see your healthcare provider because yes, antibiotics have their place. The goal is to use them wisely, not avoid them when they're truly needed. But when you stop chasing the symptoms and start addressing the root cause, that's when real lasting health changes begin. Now, if you liked my video, check out my next video on how to hydrate naturally to reduce the UTI occurrence in the first place. And until next time, love your guts.